Hi, my name is Sarah, and we are with the Injured Workers Law Firm. And today I'm going to be interviewing Michele Lewane. She is a Virginia workers' compensation attorney, and she is also the CEO of Injured Workers Law Firm. So she's been practicing for over 30 years. I'm just going to interview her today and get some um, insight and information on Virginia workers' comp law and everything that she has learned over the past 30 years in this industry.
So I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can answer some questions.
Great. So, why don't you first share about Injured Workers Law Firm?
We've been around for since 2007 or 8. I get confused because we were in construction for about a year. Um, but we only do workers' comp, and we only do workers' comp in the state of Virginia. So what that has enabled us to do is to really fine-tune our skills in this little niche area of the law.
Mm-hmm. And located in Richmond, Virginia, but we do the whole state of Virginia.
That's
So,
true.
since you have been in this industry for so long, just talking about the changes that have happened since when you first started, since when the law firm started, and what changes have come across with the laws just over the years for Virginia workers' comp.
I guess to start off with, Virginia workers' compensation law is very unique in that each July 1st, the state legislature changes the laws. And so, um, obviously, so you need to be up to date with state statutes. With like criminal law or domestic law, it pretty much is what it is. So there are all these changes, and I would say the most difficult change has been through the years how it's just being harder and harder and harder for people who are hurt at work to get workers' comp benefits. Um, and that is the worst, is that it probably people assume, and it used to be almost all injuries that happen at work were covered by workers' comp, and now maybe half of them do
So
because
you
of,
would say it's getting worse over the years?
yes,
Okay.
for the injured worker to prove their
Mm-hmm.
case.
Yeah.
Also, there was, the unique laws related to COVID that came and have now gone.
Yeah.
Um, there's also just different little laws that change. And then we also do have case law that interprets the statutes, which different judges have different interpretations sometimes of
Mm-hmm.
what the law means.
So how has that changed the way you practice? Have you had to do anything differently with your clients in 2023 versus in 1995? Your
Um,
approach
I
to
guess just letting them have more, educating them to have more realistic expectations that, they might not win. They fell down the steps, but they don't know why they fell. So now that's not covered. So they don't, I have to explain a little bit more why certain things aren't covered under workers' comp and the limited numbers in workers' comp.
yeah.
I guess a positive change is the injured worker gets 2/3 of their average weekly wage up to a maximum amount. And that cap each year has been going up pretty well.
That's good.
So that's good that people, higher wage earners will still get 2/3 of their wages versus sometimes higher wage earners only get 50% of
Right.
their average weekly wage.
Well, that's good that there's also some positive changes. So, with these changes, how do you stay up to date? Do you get stuff in the mail? Do you have to attend conferences? How do you know the changes that are going on?
So always have to take continuing legal education classes, and actually you have to take 12 hours a year. And it was extremely difficult back in the day because there was really only one seminar that would give you like four hours or 8 hours of education on workers' compensation. Now, luckily, the Workers' Comp Commission does a 2 day retreat. The Virginia Trial Lawyer Association does a wonderful one. The Inns of Court do wonderful continuing education, so I can get educated and really just brainstorm with other workers' comp lawyers about how to tackle like new issues that are
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
along.
As we're talking about just the changes and you always having to keep your clients up to date, why don't you share like probably your most common challenge that injured workers face in Virginia, and how do you help overcome these challenges?
Well, I guess one that is the most common and it's almost the most simple, but it can be the most harmful, is the fact that a lot of insurance adjusters will just start what I call voluntarily paying a client their weekly check. So they think all is well. They don't know what they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, what's going on is a statute of limitations is running, and they are only getting voluntarily paid. And then all of a sudden, there's surgery suggested by the doctor, and then boom, their case is denied, and they don't understand what's going on,
Yeah.
or they don't know the benefits of being what's called under an award order, where they're legally responsible, and then they legally will pay you cost of living adjustments and legally get penalized if they don't pay you, and legally you don't have to job search. So many benefits to being on an award order, and they get deceived by not understanding that just because someone's paying you on a voluntarily basis doesn't make it a legal obligation to continue paying.
Well, this also isn't just for clients that we represent. I mean, because I I started off doing intakes, which is when someone calls our office and we talk to them and get like the initial information and get the details of the case and stuff. And so I mean, we weren't even representing a lot of people. And the big thing that a big misconception was that because they were getting benefits, that they thought that everything was fine. And then once we investigated more with your help reviewing the intake and stuff, we were like, no, this is not good. They're actually just doing it voluntarily and you need to file a claim form. It doesn't necessarily just mean like you say your clients, but what we mean in general is just anyone who's been injured at work. They may be getting paid, but that doesn't mean that their claim is accepted, right?
Right. It luckily the law did change recently on that as well. That if because it used to be you'd get somebody would be voluntarily paid for 2 years, and the next week everything would stop. They don't know what's happened. Statute of limitations ran. They never filed their claim form. They're done. So luckily, so that happened to hundreds and hundreds of people. Um, but the law recently changed that if someone is voluntarily paid for 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
um, it tolls the statute of limitations for a little bit longer.
Oh wow, I
But
did not know that.
yes, it's a little bit. You have to look at when they were paid, when they
Mm-hmm.
gave notice, that type of thing. But what I end up telling someone in my first conversation, usually a lot of the times, is I say, think of it as a triangle. And if they think of it as a triangle, it kind of works. Think of the court, the
Mm-hmm.
Workers' Comp Commission at the very top, and they're the real people, the real decision maker. And then the injured worker and me are on one corner,
Mm-hmm.
and the employer and the insurance company, which are two different decision makers as well, are on the other side. And then if we can't come to an agreement, it's the top, it's the judge that makes the decision. And that's who you need to be giving notice to and filing forms. And you're right, we don't normally tell our clients what to do at that point because we're
You're
actually
doing it
doing all
for
of that
them.
for them.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the more negative and downsides. So why don't you share a success story or a really positive outcome that you didn't think was going to happen, or anything like that that has happened the last 30 years?
Well, I had a lot of good news this whole week. So, it just depends. You go to a hearing and you don't get a decision that day, and then the opinion comes in the mail and you win, and you're like, yay. And I had one, uh, one client of mine who we filed um, uh, for penalties and different things against the insurance company for not doing the right thing back in February, and this is no end of November, right? And this was back in February. We just got the decision last week, and it was like 15 pages, and it outlined everything I had said, how wrong the insurance company was, da 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 da. They got slammed with all these attorney fees. They got slammed with having to pay sanctions, and then my client got all this money, and then they added an interest on top of it and the 20% late payment
Wow.
penalty. So
Wow.
so we won all over the place on that. So that was a great success that so many people are being done wrong, and then when you feel validated
Yeah.
that after that long period of time. And then another wonderful thing that happened is I have a client, unfortunately, who died and has these two baby children, and we have a hearing coming up in about 2 weeks. And again, no reason it should be denied. And the attorney on the other side asked for continuance in July, and it was granted. And Adam in our office wrote, or I said, no, object to the request for continuance. So Adam wrote this wonderful thing why we should not have another
Mm-hmm.
continuance,
Mm-hmm.
and they got slammed. And so we're headed to a hearing, which is a great thing because we're 100% prepared,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm feeling very confident we're going to win. So that's
Yeah.
great because, again, usually cases are continued all the time, which means our clients have to wait forever and a day to get their day in court.
Yeah.
So that's all good news. And really, I could say in general, what's really nice is at the end of a case, and we settle the case for a really good value, and our clients can move on and get out from under workers' comp.
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell you how many people I talk to, a year later, 5 years later, those types of people that it was just a great result for them, that settlement, that they can
Yeah.
move on and get
It's,
out from underneath the system. So
yeah. That's great. Okay, so we'll transition just a little bit kind of to like the marketing business side. How do you know and ensure your clients and potential clients and anyone who calls our office have a clear understanding of the workers' comp process?
in general, I think it goes back to that thing that the insurance adjuster does this 24/7, knows it inside and out. I do it 24/7. I generally know it inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the reason I have a job, the reason there are 50 judges out there with a job, and a thousand attorneys out there with a job, is that insurance companies deny legitimate workers' comp cases, or I wouldn't have a job. Okay, if they were doing the right thing, I wouldn't have a job. Okay. So my philosophy is that injured workers, this is the first time they don't know what they don't know. So I want to get my book in their hands. Okay. I want people to have that general understanding with the book, and hopefully they can maybe pick and choose what might be appropriate in their case. But every single case is different. You know, you might have a torn rotator cuff in your left shoulder, and I've had 50 other torn rotator cuffs, but every case is different because it's a different doctor, it's a different way you were hurt, etc. So you really do need to talk to a lawyer to see if there's something unique in your case that could either really help you or really hurt you. So
Right.
my philosophy is get the general information out there, and then if it is a serious problem, they need to have a consultation with a lawyer to know, okay, I need to do these 2 or 3 things. I can do them on my own. I don't need a lawyer. Or, you know what? You do need to go to a hearing. You do need a lawyer.
Yeah. And so your book, you know, you're on the eighth edition now, about to be the ninth. Do you recommend people read that even if they haven't been injured? Like, how are you getting these in the hands of people in Virginia?
Anyone who raises their hand and wants the book. So, also in doctors' offices and stuff like that, physical therapy offices, chiropractor offices. But if someone calls, we send them the book. Okay, that way they can have some general knowledge. Okay. Um, and then you can also do research. I mean, you can Google. I have so many blogs out there on very, a little bit more
Yeah.
detailed, specific things. I have frequently asked questions on my website that you could look at, that might identify something a little bit more clearer. And then, like if you're doing it on your own, and again, many times that is the right answer. That you don't need a lawyer,
Yeah.
but you need to know when you do need a lawyer. And so that's that understanding the general law, understanding what's going on in your case, and then understanding, okay, this is at the point where I can't handle it
Yeah.
on my own.
Is that how you've done things since you started, or were do you not?
Pretty much. I mean, now we have so many people calling. I mean, obviously, when I first started, there was the yellow pages, and there were no cell phones. So, the phone rang, I picked it up, and I, just told people what to do. And then I
Yeah.
had little flyers, and then I created the book, and
Yeah.
and now we have like an intake department that helps people, with the information. Um, but yes, that's how I've always done it because I think the knowledge base, if everybody has, it levels the playing field. An insurance adjuster will tell somebody you can't do that. Well, I tell them, oh yes, you can, or you know what, she's right. But it's giving you that power to know,
Yeah.
what what are the rules of the game because they are. Um, there are exceptions and then there are exceptions to the exceptions. So that's why
Yeah.
you want to talk to a lawyer when things get complicated.
It's pretty crazy too, because even like employees here or their spouses or friends or whatever, um, they didn't even know like about workers' comp before they started working. I mean, unless they came experienced, obviously,
Right.
um, if they came from another firm. But if this is their first time in the industry, it's I've heard so many people say like I didn't even know like this existed, or even I have like friends that I tell about and they didn't even know. So it's kind of crazy that it's not really common knowledge to
It
know.
is. It's funny that you say that because when I went to law school, there was no class on workers' comp. I did not know anything about it, but when I clerked at the Court of Appeals, that was one type of case law. And so I was reading case law
Mhm.
on it and helping writing opinions on it. And then I went to my first law firm that I was with, and nobody knew about workers' comp. So I was, by default, I started doing workers' comp. So I learned it by default. Now I have two really good friends that teach a class at University of Richmond on workers' comp, which is nice.
Yeah, that's
But
good.
I mean, lawyers didn't even know about workers' comp back in the day.
Yeah.
So
And that's something that makes our law firm different is because we only do workers' comp, and a lot of the times firms will do it as like the side practice area, or maybe they get a call for it and claim that they do it and they really don't. So I think it's important if you're shopping for attorneys who are trying to decide which one to call is just, is this really what they do, or is this just like a minor practice
right.
area that you can barely even find on their website, but they're showing up for it on Google, which is, yeah.
Yes.
So,
And there are some excellent workers' comp attorneys out there.
yeah,
But then there are the ones that I've never heard of, and they make me very nervous because if I haven't, this is a little community that, who practices, workers' comp. And so it makes me nervous because I don't know if they really know it or not, or how many times they've been in front of the court because it is not a jury trial that you see on TV. That is not what happens when you go to a hearing.
yeah.
So,
If you were to be injured, what is, the first three things you would do that you can tell the listeners, viewers, just kind of like the first 3 to 5 steps?
well, obviously, immediately notify your employer because that's a legal requirement,
Mm-hmm.
immediately get medical care and do what your doctor says, because sometimes the doctor says don't work and you go back to work because you're afraid of losing your job.
Mm-hmm.
um, and and then the next thing is to get in contact with the insurance workers' comp insurance company. Usually your employer will get you there, but you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
And then and then then not the last step, but then the final step would be to learn your rights, which is usually calling a workers' comp lawyer, reading my book, making sure you're on the right steps.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, like, just because you're calling a lawyer doesn't mean your employer's gonna find out, or that,
Right.
the insurance company is gonna come after you. I think it's just,
Right. It's all
at least with
confidential.
our firm, it's free and it's confidential, and there's really no hurt in doing it, like, at
Mm-mm.
all. So it sounds like that it's just tell your employer, get medical treatment, talk with the insurance company, and get a consult with an attorney. Sounds like the four top things to do.
Yes.
Well, thanks for answering these questions today. I think they'll be really useful for people, and we can continue to dig deeper into this and maybe talk more about your business and how you operate, how marketing operates, in more videos to come.
Okay. Thank you.